I think a lot of physicians get really unsure of themselves because they feel like such an expert in their day-to-day medical role, but then stepping into this experience, they realize how much they don't know about the field. And a lot of people may not be cut out for it, because if you can't come in with humility and be like, wow, I don't know any of that stuff, can you teach me? I think that it would be very hard to be successful in the startup space.
Welcome to Startup Physicians. Please like and follow our show to join our community of physicians who are reimagining healthcare delivery.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Startup Physicians podcast. This is your host, Dr. Allison Kerfin, and I'm excited to have Dr. Janene Fuerch with me today. Hi, Janene. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, Allison. Thrilled to be here. It's always a good opportunity when two physicians can sit down and chat, right?
Yes. And I know the first time I met you, we realized we had so many connections. We had done so many similar things. And I don't remember what the topic of our conversation was supposed to be, but we ended up going off on all these different tangents. So it's great to be able to talk to you.
I think it might have been pediatric digital health, but I'm not sure we spent a lot of time talking about that.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. So I was particularly interested in your journey because of how many things it has led to for you. And I know you are by background a neonatologist. Can you talk to us a little bit about your training background and when you started taking opportunities in the startup world and when you started kind of creating these new opportunities for yourself?
Yeah. So I was, by all means, this was not my journey. This was not the journey I was going to be on, which I think everyone finds very strange when I say that, because now I'm seen sort of as the poster child for biodesign and Impact One, the group that I run in Pediatric and Maternal Health Innovation out of Stanford University. But I was really interested in global health and human factors research and, doing simulation research and other things. But it wasn't until I was in the Bay Area. So I know we're talking about how the Bay Area is there's plenty of sparks and plenty of fire to ignite innovation in the Bay Area. So it is a special place, but I was blind to all of that. I was really head down. I was focusing on becoming the best pediatrician and neonatologist I could be while also exploring these other opportunities. And it wasn't until I was in my fellowship and my mentor, who knew me better than I knew myself, was like, I think you should go to that biodesign fellowship. You should look into that. And I said, absolutely not. That is not me. I am not an engineer. I have no idea what you're talking about.
And that was at the Stanford Design School?
So there's Stanford Design School, or the D School, and then there's Stanford Biodesign, which is closely linked but separate in the sense that biodesign was started by Dr. Paul Yock and Dr. Josh Mackauer, interventional cardiologist, and both also a physician, but a serial entrepreneur, respectively. And that was about 25 years ago. And so that is specifically on health tech innovation and using a repeatable process that's been expanded around the world to over 10,000 different graduates from programs all around the world. But it really started at Stanford. So that is the flagship. And we take 12 fellows a year, and they go through this process. And that was a process I ended up going through, but it wasn't because I thought that this was the place I should be. It was because when I was doing research, I realized that I was developing a medical device, which I didn't know I was doing. And I did my clinical research. I came up with a design that worked, and I knew it could help patients. And then I got the data and I was writing the paper and I was like, look, this can help patients. What do I do next? And everyone said, just publish the paper and move on to the next thing. And I just found it so deeply unsatisfying. And I think it was that sparked me and said, okay, I got to do something with this, because no one is going to read a random neonatology journal and use and build the device that I came up with to help my patients. And no one was doing that. So I figured it had to be me.
So tell me about the Biodesign Fellowship.
Oh my goodness. So biodesign has been extended all around the world. So it depends on which one you're talking about. But the Stanford Masalem Center for Biodesign at Stanford University has been around for about 25 years by now, founded by Josh Mackauer and Dr. Paul Yock. It's an amazing place that truly inspires innovation. We have the best alumni group because nobody really goes very far from biodesign after they complete the fellowship. So the Innovation Fellowship, there's lots of different programs and things, but the true Innovation Fellowship recruits the best and brightest from around the world into 12 fellowship spots a year. And that is a full-time program for 10 and a half months where they go through the entire innovation process. They do clinical immersion. They find a whole bunch of unmet clinical needs, usually around 100 or more. They come up with need statements. They narrow those down. They end up inventing something around that. But before that, we actually don't talk about solutions at all. So we're really based in the need, which I think is what is most attractive to me. So we truly understand a need from all aspects of healthcare, whether that's not just a physician's perspective, but also insurance companies and, patients, providers, the nursing at the bedside, billing, etc. And then bring it forward towards an implementation standpoint where we think about business models, learn about intellectual property, reimbursement, regulatory, clinical, technical, feasibility, etc., and what it really takes to create a technology that actually makes it to patient bedsides. So these are, wow. It's really fun. And I get to run that fellowship now after I did it from 2016 to 2017 with wonderful assistant directors. So
that's fun. Awesome. So where were you in your training? Like, did you finish neonatology training yet? Or was it after your medical fellowship?
People do it all different times, usually definitely after medical school and during some form of residency or fellowship training. But I actually did it when I was done. So because there wasn't enough fellows at the time to be able to take myself out of clinical practice, that would have created a huge burden for the people that I was in fellowship with. I decided to wait until afterwards. And so the year after I graduated, I took the whole year and I just truly learned a repeatable process around innovation and then started a company out of that and definitely got the bug and have never looked back from that standpoint.
Very cool. And what sorts of things have you done since then? I feel like I can't even categorize all the different things that you told me about that you've worked on.
A lot of really fun stuff. Honestly, I just keep following the energy and where the problems are and figure out how to solve them. So right after the fellowship, I started with my co-founder, Janene Fuerch, Emmy, which was a birth control pill startup where we actually helped people stay on their birth control pills and adhere to them better to prevent unplanned pregnancies because they're only 91% effective unless you use them right. And then they're 99% effective. We were very worried about reproductive choice and things like that in 2016, 2017, as I remain concerned. But it was a hardware software solution that then allowed women to adhere to their birth control better, which was a problem that we had and one that echoed across many women around the world. So we did that one. I've done umbilical catheter securement devices more in the neonatal space. And now I do a bunch of different things, whether it's starting our own companies, which I tend to incubate within Stanford first. So I have a bunch of different fellows who are amazing, and they're not physician fellows all the time, although some are. A lot are fellows that have already gone through the Biodesign Fellowship, and then they're staying on for an extra year. Most of them have PhDs or MDs and are truly just interested in changing the world, but specifically in the pediatric or maternal or fetal space. And so through Impact One, we have 3 different arms, which I'll get into later, but that's part of the stuff we do where we incubate technologies, start them, and then be able to spin them out from the university. Then we also accelerate other people's technologies. So Impact One is a place you can come through our innovators forums or pitch competitions to get funding, to get resources, et cetera, which we do for free. through our FDA grants and our wonderful philanthropy. And then we really advocate for pediatric change in the health technology field. And then on top of that, I still do research. I consult for a bunch of different companies, and I'm trying to really move some key technologies forward on my extracurricular time.
Yes. Yes. So, when you do consulting with startups, how do you think your medical background adds value?
That's such a good question. When I was in biodesign, I remember being at the end of biodesign, and my teammates will remember this, I'm sure, but I was like, well, nice knowing you guys. I've got nothing else to contribute to this. And they just looked at me and they're like, what are you talking about? Do you know what your physician background allows you to do? And I'm like, nope. Because I take care of patients and that's what I'm good at. And, I helped you set this up, and I guess you guys just go and do it. Right. And they were like, no, we need you. And it was shocking to me that I could still provide value at that time. And now it's laughable. But I was really stuck in the, I'm not an engineer. How am I going to do this phase? Which, I think physicians frequently forget that it took a lot to get us where we are. And we learned a lot of skills along the way, and we learned how to stay up late and work hard and have grit and tenacity. And a lot of the things that you need as an entrepreneur or an innovator, still play out. And we learned how to work on teams. We learned all of those things. Right. So it was still really, really helpful. So that was my first one. But in consulting with companies, I do a variety of different things. I specifically, because I have this biodesign background, can talk about needs and can talk about commercialization and truly bridge the gap between, commercial business speak, like what is your board saying to you and things, and then the physician speak, which is over here. So to be able to bridge the gap and speak both languages is very helpful. I can understand engineering to a certain degree, but I'm often still looking up all of the acronyms they use. Like they were talking about bombs the other day, and I was like, I'm gonna have to look that one up because I'm not sure why we're talking about bombs in this meeting, but they don't mean the same thing. They mean something very benign. Yeah. And it's a piece of paper. So, but it's things like that where you get to learn a whole new field, which is great, but you don't have to know all of it.
I think a lot of physicians get really unsure of themselves because they feel like such an expert in their day-to-day medical role, but then stepping into this experience, they realize how much they don't know about the field. And a lot of people may not be cut out for it, because if you can't come in with humility and be like, wow, I don't know any of that stuff, can you teach me? I think that it would be very hard to be successful in the startup space if you're coming in and just being like, I am an expert. It's like a balance. Like you have to recognize that you don't understand the startup world or development teams or, like you said, board speak, and you got to learn those things. But at the same time, not undervaluing your medical skills and training and all the value that brings.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's fascinating to see people come in for the first time and what they balance. Even if you go and you talk to physicians about like what they really need, like what do you really need? Like what's the thing that could, change your practice? They often come up with stuff that is much smaller than these companies are thinking about. Because we're thinking about the next great thing or like the next thing that we need to make the next thing happen. We're not always thinking about what do we need, but then also could be a viable business that could actually get to patients that you can build a business around. So need to think about those things too. And you don't have to speak all the languages, but I do find that being humble is certainly one of them, and knowing that you don't know everything, and you're always learning. The other one is that it's a team sport. And I use we's a lot, like we as a team, almost to a fault, because people forget that it's actually my innovation, or because in academia, especially, we're so used to saying like I or my lab or my something. And truly it's we. It's a team sport. You can't do it by yourself, and you can't have all the skills to complete what needs to be done. So that's a mind shift that physicians need to.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think sometimes they think that they need like an extra degree or training or something to be able to get started. One of the things I really try to teach doctors is how to position themselves and how to take their own background and create a narrative, because your career is a story, and you should be able to concisely explain who you are and what you do and what drives you and what sorts of things you want to contribute to. And I find that's something that a lot of doctors haven't really thought about.
Yeah. And you're making me think about it right now, that I could be way more concise and do that too, right? We've never had to. It's like, well, I'm Janene Fuerch. I am an academic neonatologist. I could stop there,
right?
Or I could keep going, right? Also an entrepreneur, innovator, blah, blah, blah. But we've never had to, because people just know who we are. So it is a skill you have to learn too. But I think there's a lot of people out there that are hungry to learn it. There's a lot of people, like, inherently as physicians, we are problem solvers, and we don't like seeing problems that we can't solve. So entrepreneurship, innovation, all of those things really, really,
How have you felt about the impacts you're able to make through all of these different initiatives? Because it started with you had a project and then did the Biodesign Fellowship, and then now you're running the Biodesign Fellowship, and you have Impact One, and you have your hand in all these different companies. How does that make you think about your impact on healthcare as a whole compared to alternative career pathway where you were primarily academic researcher?
This is something I thought about very deeply before I went into biodesign as well, because I realized I'm still a practicing neonatologist. So let's put it there. I still run the ECMO program at Stanford, neonatology, but I love taking care of patients and their families so much. And the deep, intense impact you have at the worst moments of their life are the most moving, inspiring, and incredible humane experiences that you will ever have. And we are incredibly lucky and privileged as physicians to even be a part of that. And that part I can't give up. And that is inspiring. But recognizing that I could help a lot more people and a lot more children around the world was also driving. So then I wanted to teach, right? Then I wanted to teach everybody else to learn the tricks that I learned. And I still do that. But then that still wasn't enough, because it was rinsing and repeating, and it wasn't enough of an impact for me. And so biodesign and innovation actually gives me that impact. I can really be involved in multiple different companies, in multiple different startups, in multiple different initiatives to move things forward and give the highest, I'm going to say it's like, give like the most important nuggets, but I don't have to be fully immersed in that. I can help.
Right. You're not one of the founders.
Yeah.
But you're an advisor.
I mean, and sometimes I am the founder, but I don't have to always do that. And I can sprinkle myself here and there to really move things forward. And instead of just moving care for one patient or a set of patients, I can try to move an entire field, which is deeply inspiring and can cross boundaries around the world. So that's really exciting to me.
I share your love of clinical medicine. I too still practice as a pediatric ER doctor, and I think it's so meaningful to be able to have the honor to take care of patients and take care of people's kids. And it's something that I trained for a really, really long time to know how to do. And I am like you. I want to keep practicing medicine, but I think of that as very much like a one-to-one impact at a given time. So every patient and family that I see, I am impacting that child and that family. But through working with startups, there's the opportunity to have this one-to-many impact where you put this thing out into the world, and as it starts going and growing, it can actually affect way more patients than you ever could in your clinical career.
Yeah. And I want something that lives on beyond me. I mean, I'm not old enough to be thinking about retiring right now, nor am I anywhere close to it, but I want something that lives on. I want a legacy that is not just what I can do on a daily basis and that relies entirely on me, but can be something to leave behind and move a field forward and truly inspire those around the world to keep following in those footsteps too. Because it's important we keep changing. And if we actually talk about pediatrics, I mean, we are so far behind any other area of innovation. And you know that I can get on this soapbox for a very long time, but that's what drives me. That's what wakes me up every morning. And that's what makes me want to keep pushing harder and harder because our kids deserve better.
I agree. And I share your passion for pediatric innovation. The other thing that I really use as a call to action for physicians who might be sort of interested, but not sure if they have anything to offer, and I'm interested in your thoughts on this. I think that the rate of change in technology innovation in the coming years is going to be so at a pace that is unbelievably overwhelming. And I think that we're going to have like the equivalent of like the past 50 or 100 years of innovation in the next like 5 years. And so it's going to be hard to continue to be a practicing clinician and keep up with all the things that are changing.
It's going to be impossible. Yeah.
And so, but at the same time, I have a lot of concerns when technology is developed without a clinician informing the quality and safety and really thinking outside the box. Like, okay, if we're going to use this tool or this device or this process to change the way we deliver care to patients, how do we ensure that this still provides quality care, even if it's really different? And so I feel like doctors are scared of all the change, and I try and tell them like, it's going to happen. So why not like help lead it?
Couldn't agree more. If I hear AI again, my head's going to explode. So I'm glad that you didn't lead with that. But it's true. The rate of change is so fast. It is going to outpower any system that we have to evaluate technology. It is going to outpower randomized clinical trials. It's going to outpower the ability for regulatory review and all of those things. And if we don't find a way to quickly adapt to that as physicians, as a society, kids are going to get left behind, because if you talk about AI specifically, the kids aren't in the algorithm. They are not being considered when it comes to most of the major innovations that are happening, as they never have been, which is incredibly sad. So one, we need pediatric practitioners.
It's a reflection of our payment system and the fact
it's a reflection of our payment system 1,000%.
Even if the greatest investment you could possibly make as far as like population health and longevity medicine is like keep the kids healthy before they get sick. Especially there's no payer that's going to have them any longer than, a lot of them, if you have to actually demonstrate for population health, you have to demonstrate remarkable results within a year. If you're like, oh, I can do this intervention and it's going to lead to the population being healthier within 5 years, like, I don't even care because they're not even going to be on our plan anymore. So,
right.
We believe kids are the future, but got to figure out how to make solutions for them.
I 1,000% agree. And we can talk about that as much as you want someday. But I think that we as a society have to figure out how to change that, because truly we have allowed payers to do this. We've allowed them. And I don't think that people really get this, that like they don't care about those things, because every 12 months people switch insurance. And so they're paying for somebody else's benefits. But eventually those people cycle around. So at some point we should be able to figure this out. And I know 50% of kids are on Medicaid, et cetera, and that is a whole nother battle that is on a state and county basis as opposed to one federal payer, which would be nice to resolve. And you are certainly a leader in that area. So that's probably not something we're going to be able to solve right now, but is, I think, one of the hottest topics and the hottest areas that need to be solved to allow pediatric innovation to move forward.
Absolutely. And I think that, what are your thoughts on doctors getting involved in tech development and tech innovation and how we implement these things in healthcare? Because a lot of people have fear. They're like, I don't want these things. Like they're going to be bad. Like they're going to replace me, or they're going to, lead to poor quality outcomes. What would you say to people like that?
Well, I would say a lot of things. One, you don't want technology companies running amok with technology that doesn't solve the problems that we need as physicians or without us. So honestly, I think we're at the stage where you can get on board and you can go join them and help them do the right thing, or you can be the recipient of whatever they do, because that's where we're at right now. I think, reflecting on how I was trained was to never be conflicted. Like that as an academic,
Right.
is the worst thing you can do is be conflicted.
Have a conflict.
Any conflicts.
Yeah.
And I just decided one day that I was just going to, burn that page in the book. And I say I am incredibly conflicted and I embrace it because my voice is being heard by all those companies to do what's best for those patients, because I know what those patients need and they don't. And I can provide that safety. I can provide that extra level of protection. But if we're not there, then our voice isn't being heard.
And I talk to a lot of physicians and just like completely blow their mind when I tell them that whatever their field is or whatever a problem or a condition is that they treat, there is probably someone out there building a company for that problem with no clinicians. Like
no clinicians.
No clinicians. Like their daughter had diabetes and they know how to code and they're like, you know what? This was a bad experience. I'm going to make something new that's better. I mean, and ultimately, like good founders will look for the right advisors to help bring that input in. But people are shocked when I tell them, like, people are building healthcare companies without clinicians.
But they, and those well-meaning people are also spending a lot of time and money and effort in areas where they could make that a lot more streamlined. So if any of those individuals are listening, grab a physician who's done this before, that gets it, and also who deeply understands that space, because a physician can put you in the right direction or the totally wrong direction as well.
Right.
So,
and that's one of the things that I really try and train physicians on is how to function in the startup space. I think that you have to think differently. You have to bring all your medical expertise, but you also have to be, understand design thinking and the life cycle of startups and what are what's the MVP or the minimum viable product. And so I think that those are skills that physicians can definitely grow and learn, but it's not something that comes naturally to us from our medical training.
No, well, it's not training that we have, right? We're not even really trained to be teachers. Like teachers are trained to be teachers. I come from a family of teachers and they're all very much taught how to instruct. And we're just like, go teach someone something. See one, do one, teach one. Like, who knows, right? We're not really taught how to do a lot of things. So we think we can just pick it up. Most of the times we can pick it up. Do you really need an MBA to learn how to do business? No. Will you have the business contacts that other people who went to Harvard Business School have? No. But do you need it? I know you asked that before, and I don't always think you need that extra degree, but sometimes you need additional skills or experiences.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's definitely ways to get that experience. And once you've done your first advisory role or worked with your first company, then all of a sudden, okay, you're experienced. You get now what's the next thing? You learn from that. What did I contribute that was valuable? What did I like working on? How do I package this sort of skill or service again and find the right sorts of companies that might be interested in that? So, well, do you have any last thoughts for physicians that might be in more traditional practice and have some limiting beliefs about getting involved in startups?
Yes. So your voice is definitely needed. You can find time because you found time to do a whole lot of things in your life. But you also need to carve it out. And I always say, like, physicians know that they can do anything because we've been there, we've done it. But you can't do everything at the same time. So if you can start to carve out a little bit of time to really put thought into where you want to go and where you want to direct your career, any one of us can do it, no matter how early or experienced you are in your career. So don't let that limit you. You have lots of good advice to give in a variety of different ways. And you can have some missteps in there too and keep going. So it doesn't have to be the right thing. Don't wait for the right thing to happen, because that will not happen. You can build up your resume over time, just like you did as a physician.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you coming and sharing your expertise and all the different things that you've been involved with. For those of you that are interested in connecting with Janene, we will put her LinkedIn in the show notes. But I just want to thank all of you for listening, and would love to have you, follow the podcast and share it with someone that you think would like to hear it too. So until next time, thanks.
Thank you for listening to Startup Physicians. Don't forget to like, follow, and share.